Suspected armed bandits abduct students of Government Girls Secondary School, Jangibe in Zamfara State. Senate holds investigative public hearing on 5G network. NCDC confirms 34 new cases of COVID-19 in the country. These and more on Panorama today, reaching you live from Abuja. I'm Elizabeth Omori. We'll be right back. Suspected armed bandits have kidnapped some students at Government Girls Secondary School, Jangibe in Talata Mafra, local government area of Zamfara State. Zamfara State Commissioner of Information, Sulaiman Tunau Anka, who confirmed the unfortunate incident, said the gunmen stormed the school around 1 a.m. today and abducted the students. He, however, says the actual number of the abducted students is yet to be ascertained. Joining me now in the studio to discuss the issue before us is a public analyst, Jide Ojo. Mr. Jide, it's nice to have you in our studio.
The pleasure is mine.
All right, it's quite unfortunate that we are still grappling with the challenge confronting us with Kagara abduction. What is your take on this present situation?
My heart bleeds for this country.
Okay.
And I really do not envy the president, because much as the president and his lieutenants want Nigeria to believe that they have done better with security in the last 5 years, most things are pointing to the fact that the security situation is getting worse. It's very unfortunate that we are still dealing with Kagara. We have not gotten out of it. The 42 people that were arrested, that were abducted last week, are still in the kidnappers' den. Now we have some media are speculating about 300 or whatever. But even if it's 10, even if it's 5, the bottom line is that these are someone's children. And we are talking of reducing out-of-school children. With what is happening now, definitely many parents will want to withdraw their children from school, saying that if it's not possible for their children to be in school with peace, then they would rather have them being at home. So I pray that the government of Zamfara State and then the federal government will be able to resolve this in an expeditious manner. This is one abduction too many, and it doesn't portray the image of the country in any good light, because we are talking of safe school initiatives that have been on for 6 years now. Okay. But obviously the schools are no longer safe. Okay,
I'd like to quote you there, because I understand that our correspondent at the venue is actually on ground right now. Haruna, can you hear me loudly?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. Now, can you tell us what have you gathered concerning the incident?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm right now at the Government Girls Science Secondary School, Jangibe, in Talata Mafara, local government area of Zamfara State. The incident, according to eyewitness, happened at exactly around 1 o'clock in the evening yesterday. And from the reports we've received from the school authorities, a total number of 317 students were abducted.
Okay.
Out of the total number of about 515 students that are in the school.
Okay. Well, it's quite unfortunate that I would like to ask you this. What is the mood around there? How are parents and teachers feeling right now?
Actually, parents, guardians, and other members of the community are in this forum. They are seriously disturbed, and the situation is really pathetic. Yes. A lot of parents have came early and have taken some of the students who are not affected by the incident.
Okay. Aruna, are you in contact with any family member of the abducted students?
Yes, we've spoken with our two parents, one from Anka local government area, the local government nearby, who 3 students were abducted in the incident.
Okay.
And the other one has a student who was also abducted. There are students and they are appealing to the state government to review the ongoing peace and reconciliation process, because according to them, that's not actually prevented this incident. So the state government should review the situation.
All right, we understand that the abduction took place around 1 a.m. today, but really, are there eyewitness accounts?
Pardon?
I said we understand that the abduction took place around 1 a.m. today. Are there eyewitness accounts?
Yeah, we met one of the students of the school who happened to hide inside the toilet and therefore escaped the abduction.
Okay.
According to her, the abductors came to the school and they forced their way through the main gate of the school. They went straight to the hostel, knocked, and were asking the students to come out for night prayers, dawn prayers. And after they had came out, they started, pursuing them outside. Right?
Okay. Now, before the abduction, how was the level of security? Can you hear me, Aruna?
Pardon? Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Now, before the abduction, what was the level of security like in the school?
Before the abduction, according to an eyewitness,
Okay.
there was a civil security personnel at the main gate
Okay.
and some security officers also around the hostel. But when they discovered that the abductors were already in the school, they ran away.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. All right, we understand that our state government delegation came around. So what feedback do we have from them?
Yes, the State Commissioner of Education, the person of Dr. Ibrahim Abdullahi, was at the spot of the incident in company of the State Commissioner of Police, Abuja.
Okay.
Particularly the State Commissioner of Police said the operators of the operation in Hadar and Daji have identified the direction which the abductors are taking, and they are in pursuit of the bandits.
Okay.
He assured that the security are doing everything possible to ensure the abductees are released without any harm or injury.
Okay. All right, Aruna, thank you so much for your time. We hope to get more updates from you for other bulletins. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, I still have Jide Ojo with me in the studio. Mr. Jide, you heard him. What's your take?
Like I said earlier on, it's a very heartbreaking situation we have on our hands. The international community will be worried, Steve, about education in Nigeria.
Okay.
Many international communities, international non-governmental organizations have been supporting this Nigerian government to ensure safe school, to ensure that, we have girl child education, to ensure that we have quality education in Nigeria. I cannot quantify the amount of money, resources, manpower, training that the international community has, invested in Nigeria to ensure that we do not have situations like this. And just on Tuesday, I wrote a column for This Day newspaper where I examined the root causes of some of these issues. First and foremost is we have endemic poverty, unemployment, so people have come to take issue of kidnapping as the only pot that they can use to ease their wealth.
Okay, now that brings me to my next question. The state government has been receiving some repentant bandits. What message are they trying to pass?
Again, Just this 72 hours ago, 96 hours ago, the governor of Zamfara was on one of the TV stations, and he was saying, look, we have to give these people amnesty. When we started this amnesty program, about 1,000 bandits have repented, and you know, they are achieving a lot by that. But these have poo-poo has punctured that argument that amnesty alone will not do the magic. Now, you give amnesty to people, and yet you have this mass abduction. But the question I want to ask my sister is, where were the security operatives when all of this was happening? Your correspondent said 317 girls from 1 a.m. or about 1 a.m. when these bandits came into the school. Are there no security posts in anywhere close?
Mounted anywhere.
Mounted anywhere.
It's a girl secondary school.
For goodness sake. I said in that article I'm referring to, which was in this day of this week, Tuesday, I said there are a number of things we need to do to keep our schools safe. Look at the state of infrastructure in Kagara, the very dilapidating nature of that school. That is not even fit for pigs to live in. That's where we are harboring having a boarding school. And we don't know the state of infrastructure in this Talata Marafa, Jangebe, or what's the name of this new. And now we are talking of girls. This will be a setback for girl child education in northern Nigeria. Already that was a phenomenon that international community has supported federal government, state government to try to overcome, encourage people to go to school. You know, with this school feeding program, it was to get students to enroll and go back to school. But with this severe, several abduction, Kagara, Kankara, now Talata Marafa, how will the northern parents of children in northern Nigeria want to send their wards to school? It shows the amnesty is not working. It shows that the schools, the federal, state, and local government needs to up their ante to ensure proper security around school environment, perimeter fence, you know, scanners, and all the CCTV. If otherwise, we should just close down all boarding schools.
Okay, now, so how does this rub off on our security architecture?
Negatively. Negatively. And I do not envy the new service chiefs. And I'm one of those who are in support of the ouster of the former service chiefs. But I also noted at that point in time that this will just be a step. There are several other things that needed to be done, because if you change the service chiefs, even every week, it will solve the security problem. Like Tuko Buratai, the immediate past chief of army staff, said, there is the need for hardware and the software approach to solving this conundrum. One, we need to deal with the issue of poverty and unemployment. In Nigeria, particularly in northern Nigeria, quite a number of these youths have no means of livelihood. They see the elites in their communities living a life of affluence. And unfortunately, my sister, it is the children of the poor, the vulnerable, that goes to this kind of public schools. The children of the elites are untouchable because they are not even schooling in Nigeria. So how do we encourage parents to go to school? What is the state of security architecture around our schools, around our communities, around our state? These are the big questions that needed to be answered. But while we do all of this, I think government needs to redouble its effort to ensure that we deal with issue of poverty and unemployment. These are primary root causes of some of these issues around banditry and insecurity that we have seen. Look at what's happening in Borno, where Maiduguri. I was in Maiduguri last month, and I wrote my experience in my column in The Punch, and I was like, okay, I went to Maiduguri. I couldn't tell people because of the fear that people will have about my safety if I go to Maiduguri. Look at what just happened in Maiduguri early this week, where bandit insurgents were launching rocket-propelled grenades into the Maiduguri town.
Yes.
So it shows that nowhere in Nigeria is safe. And Sultan of Sokoto have said this much in some of his recent interventions, that Nigerian government at all levels need to redouble efforts to bring the situation under control. This abduction in Zamfara shows that our government is not on top of insecurity in Nigeria. And something drastic needs to, if we need to seek international support or help, we need to do it. We need to explore every opportunity. It's a setback for the Safe School Initiative program of the federal government. It's a setback for the, getting out of school children to go back to school. It's a setback for girl child education. It's a setback for the educational sector of the country. And at large, it's a setback for the country. In its 61st independence anniversary, we are having a state that has failed its youth population. Because how do you convince people to go to school? Now, people struggle to go through this very harrowing experience. They will graduate and there will be no job for them. How do you convince them that education is power? Education is knowledge. How do you, I read a book, Elizabeth Price, Education Without Tears, in my youth. I don't think if Elizabeth Price has Nigeria in mind, he will have written Education with Tears.
Okay, now quickly, what's the way forward? Quickly.
We need to have this hardware and the software approach. Like I've said, we need to deal with the issue of poverty and unemployment. Primarily, 2, improve infrastructure so people can engage in self-employment, reduce the cost of doing business. But on the hardware side, we need more, recruit more military, recruit more soldiers, recruit more police, build more infrastructures for security to enhance security architecture, not only around our schools, but around communities. The reason why this is happening time and again is ungoverned space. There is a sort of large ungoverned spaces around this country that there is no government presence anywhere. And that is what we need to do. Improve infrastructures around all the communities. The fact that somebody is in a rural environment should not shut him out of dividends of democracy. They need good roads, they need water, they need light. They need things that will make them to even be self-employed, so that while they don't want to come to urban centers, they can earn a living, a decent living, wherever they are. Then we need to rethink the security around our schools. I've said that schools need perimeter fence. They need to hire, even if it means to get alumni of schools to support hiring of security men to provide additional security for schools. We need CCTV around boarding schools so that at least somewhere somebody
even
can monitor around schools. So we need to improve the hardware of security hardware around our schools, particularly boarding schools, where people live in the night. So all of these combined, it's a tough order, it's a Herculean task, but government cannot fight shy of doing the needful to secure our schools, whether public or private.
We are very optimistic that we will overcome.
Amen. I say amen to that.
I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
It's a pleasure.
Ojo, public analyst. You're watching Panorama, reaching you live from Abuja. We'll take a short break now. More reports to come. Thanks for staying with us. The deployment of the 5th generation network, popularly called 5G, holds great potential for the nation's economy and development. This opinion resonated at an investigative hearing on the state of 5G in Nigeria held by the Joint Senate Committee on Communications. Dayo Umushala reports.
Statistics from the Global System for Mobile Communications Association indicates that as of August 2020, no fewer than 38 countries had deployed 5G network, while others are at various stages of either conducting trial or already deployed in parts. For these countries, experts say 5G is capable of transforming their economy through fast wireless network. In Nigeria, opinions have been trailing the introduction of 5G network. It is on this note that the Joint Senate Committee on Communications, Science and Technology, ICT and Cybercrimes, as well as primary healthcare and communicable diseases, held this investigative public hearing on the status of 5G network in Nigeria.
We only approve of this technology if the security and safety of our citizens are guaranteed. We are not going to be motivated by making money out of it. If there is any implication of other radiation, as many people allege without knowledge, then I should be the #1 victim. As the global practice, in that process of doing the trial, we remain very objective.
It is recommended that the operators should always conduct EI before going to the site, before deployment.
Satellites can play a key role in 5G, particularly for developing countries like ours. It will also foster the rollout of 5G in unserved and underserved areas.
Based on the various submissions, experts believe that Nigeria cannot claim to be part of the global society while rejecting advanced technology the world is embracing. From the National Assembly, Dayo Gunshola, NTA News.
Meanwhile, stakeholders have called for a comprehensive national instrument on data, privacy protection and national legislation to drive the digital economy in Nigeria. This is against the background of scattered pieces of legislations with limitations to protect data and privacy in Nigeria. Vera Chumba reports.
The webinar is to interrogate existing applicable laws and identify loopholes that are detrimental to Nigeria's digital economic agenda. Minister of Communications and Digital Economy said Nigeria has a strong regulatory framework. He challenged the stakeholders on the effective implementation, monitoring and enforcement to drive the digital economy.
You will come up with some recommendations that will guide the federal government to either come up with a legislation or policy or subsidiary legislation.
Speakers and discussants profiled divergent views on cybersecurity challenges. Former Director General ECOWAS Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa, Abdullahi Shehu, called for research on new technologies with multi-sectoral legal and regulatory framework in place. A lead consultant, Bamidele Ayimebo, who reviewed Nigeria's national blockchain policy and strategy, said it is silent on international trade. Director General of the Institute asked the National Assembly to expedite action on the bill before it.
Look at our scattered pieces of instruments that we as the Institute, as the Apex Legal Institute, we are currently reviewing them to identify gaps in them with a view to proposing a draft legal instrument, for consideration by federal government on digital economy.
President Muhammad Buhari recently launched a national cybersecurity policy and strategy with emphasis on economic growth and mitigation of crime. In Abuja, Vera Chumba, NTA News.
Religious leaders in the country have been urged to always preach messages of love for one another, peaceful coexistence and patriotism to their congregation as a way of dousing increased ethno-religious tension currently experienced in the country. Kenneth Nani has details of this report.
Nigeria, like some other countries of the world, is being confronted with insurgency, banditry and other forms of insecurity. As if these are not enough, ethno-religious tension is being heightened in parts of the country, with others calling for disintegration. To stem the situation and redirect citizens' attention to issues of unity, integration, religious tolerance and love for one another, the organizers of this gathering believe that religious leaders are a strong voice in achieving this.
Religious leaders have a certain power which government does not have. Their adherents, whether they are Muslims or Christians, believe that religious leaders are representatives of God on earth. And they speak to their followers through the various holy books. Now, given that kind of platform, we think that in the face of the various crises that Nigeria is facing today, that religious leaders have a critical role to play.
This is intended to make participants effective ambassadors in the campaign to bring lasting peace to our great country.
The forum also challenges religious leaders on moral rebirth, as well as caution their members from disseminating unverified messages from the social media that are capable of disrupting the public peace.
My major concern is the youths. How do we capture them? How do we get them to understand that, no, they need to love one another? We're supposed to showcase all these things to make sure that the society becomes a better place.
It is our hope that at the end of this process, Religious leaders and their followers will be equipped with the skills that will enable them critically analyze information and news media content.
The religious leaders, however, appealed to the elite and public office holders to also play positive roles in promoting peace and harmonious coexistence amongst their supporters for nation building. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
Concludes Panorama this afternoon. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, be a brother's keeper. Report any suspicious movement to the appropriate authorities. Good afternoon.